It is the Italian Symposium.
Yes,
You'll have to moderate.
sorry?
You will have to moderate.
No. I think she's coming. I think the moderator is Dr. Bertero, Elisabetta Bertero. She's from the finance department at LSE. We're just waiting 2 minutes to start. But first of all, I would like to thank the speakers for being here. We really appreciate it. We've had the first panel before this one, and we're really excited to learn more from you about breaking into finance and the careers. Here she is. Okay. Apologies for there's been a mistake in the logistics, but we solved it.
Hello here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Bertero, for being here. I forgot to mention at the first panel that each panel will have a student co-host to give us an perspective from either the United Times Society Committee or the Society Committee or one of the co-founders. And now we have Fabio who's going to co-host the event. And I'll let Dr. Bertero introduce the guest. Yeah. Do you want me to? Okay, it's fine. I'll introduce you. So, first of all, we are really glad to have at this panel okay. So at this panel, we're really glad to have Ursula Marchioni, who is a financial specialist with over 15 years of experience in the sector. She's the head of portfolio consulting at BlackRock in EMEA, developing tailored portfolio solutions for clients in the region. Mrs. Marchioni is a member of the EMEA Executive Committee and Investment Committee at BlackRock's ETF and Index Investments Division, and a director of the BlackRock Lux Fund Companies Board. And the next one is Filippo Finelli. Mr. Finelli is currently managing director of JP Morgan, and for the past 10 years, he has been building and managing the electronic market, making business for precious metals, energy, base metals, and indices at JP Morgan. Currently, he's directing the ATS group globally at JP Morgan. And finally, we have Mr. Alex Lasagna, who is the deputy CEO and in charge of business development strategy at Algebris Investments, where he helped to diversify the fund range and launch the UCITS funds platform. Before Algebris, Mr. Lasagna was partner and the head of investor relations at IN Alternative, an Italian independent asset manager. And before then, he was at Schroders as head of the private banks international team and member of the executive and investment committees. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Umberto. My name is Elisabetta Bertero. I'm an academic in the Department of Finance here at the LSE, and I've been asked to chair this symposium on careers in the area of finance. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all here, people who are here in person and people online. Welcome, everybody. And welcome students I know there are students from different universities here, so everybody very welcome on behalf of the LSE. In terms of, I've been invited to this panel by one of my current students, and I must say, and I want to say that the academic level of Italian students is always extremely high. And then other students who are actually students. The way we're going to run this very interesting talk is really for you. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions about careers in the area of finance. We're very lucky to have these panelists today. So what we'll do is I'll ask a couple of introductory questions. Then Fabio will also ask some questions to the panelists, and then we'll open the questions to the audience. The only thing I ask is to be brief in your questions so that we can, as many people as possible can ask what they would like to find out. And we plan to finish at 6, I understand. So my first question is very general. So I'd like to ask each one of you, what is your job exactly? So you have a job title that we've all heard, but what is your job in your, when you relate to your department or area? And also to give first the audience an idea of your day-to-day job. So what do you actually do? If you want to start with.
I can start. I start by saying that I've been doing this for 15 years. I explain in detail to my parents what I do for a living, and they understand. Then COVID hit. I was in Italy. I say, here's I'm working from home. Here's all the screens. We can go in details through what I do. I market make commodities to corporate institutional clients. So we have the investment bank, JP Morgan is like dividing like sub companies, and there's like the retail bank in the US, Chase, which is like the biggest like probably retail bank in the United States, like Barclays here. You can be in the middle of the US to see a Chase ATM everywhere you go. We just started in the UK as well. Very little to do with that. Then it's commercial bank where we have commercial clients and FX payments. I'm part of CIB, which is corporate investment banking, which divides in investment banking, something I'm very excited about, and the markets. Some of the things we do in markets is we lend capital to our clients, and we offer services. So we have like commodity services, FX, equities, rates. And I think like almost like an Amazon Finance, where we provide service to our client. I'll give you like a example. We had like corporate clients that call us up and say, look, there's a big aviation company. I'm really worried about the price of oil. If the price of oil goes to $200 a barrel, I'm just going to go home. Say, here's what we can do for you. And this is something Tico Bank has been doing for a long time. My particular job is to look around the whole of the commodities business and figure out what we don't need humans for and what a machine can do for our clients. So it's making risk prices and offering what we call low touch services to clients where there's no human intervention, getting the risk and hedge that. So just to wrap that up, when I explained that to my parents, I say, perfect, which stock should I buy? I said, no, that's not what I do at all. So hopefully that exactly.
And in terms of the day-to-day, when you sit down at your desk and what do you do?
So there's a part of it's the franchise is quite big now after 10 years. So part of it is monitoring that everything is going fine. But the big part of the job is divided into what I call product development, like what can we build for clients that is new and helps them. She may call me and say, hey, we want to execute this certain structure really hard. We need to call these traders. They're never there. It's way too slow. I want to have a new strategy that wants to execute 100 times a day. I can't make 100 phone calls. Okay, let's see what we can do. So we partner with clients. We come up with a new product. That's one aspect of the job. The other one is, again, the analogy with Amazon comes in. We have so much volume that we have like a quant team that looks at how we price our clients, how we risk manage these clients, and we can try to extract more value as a yields from the franchise. So then in turn, we can compress our pricing and make it more competitive for our clients, which is a little bit what Amazon does.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'll manage to top the Amazon analogy, but I'll do my best. So my job is...
Can you hear the back?
Excellent.
Thank you. So my team and I work for BlackRock, which is an asset manager. So we're moving from banking to a different part of the finance spectrum, which I think is, one of the very interesting things about finance. Similarly to sustainability, it's a catch-all definition that actually has many different beasts under it. So from banking to asset management, BlackRock manages about $8.7 trillion across the globe, 2.2 in EMEA. So for that pot, my team and I, we serve EMEA clients in the UK, on the continent, in the Gulf, wherever they are, to help them consume BlackRock products and BlackRock investment strategies, from indexing to active to factors public markets, private markets, to achieve their portfolio objectives. So think about a pension fund who will be investing hundreds of billions to secure the retirement of our parents as in a few years. We help them think about the whole construct that they run. They'll be investing in fixed income, in equities, in real estate. We help them think through that aggregate pot. What is it that they're missing? What issues do they have? Maybe their return is not what empowers them to support retirement in dignity for their scheme members. And so we think about which BlackRock products across everything that we manufacture could empower them to fulfill that objective. Similarly, completely different client segments. So think about a wealth manager or a private bank or a broker, a digital broker. Maybe you guys, play and invest with one of those institutions. Again, we help them think about the products that they offer to the end client. And again, how can they fulfill the end client needs and be better at what they do. I guess in terms of what this boils down to in terms of day-to-day, acknowledge the problem of, explaining to parents what it is. So I think there's like 3 big components. So one is, running the business, managing the team, thinking about talent, helping my team develop, progress, advance. So a lot of the questions that we'll look into later actually are things that, crisscross with that component. Then there's a second component, which is clients. I travel around, I go and meet the pension fund, the bank, to try to understand what it is that they're trying to achieve and see how we can help them. And then there's a third component, which is similar to what was mentioned earlier around the service offering. So again, empowering a pension fund to transition their entire portfolio to net zero and achieve their net zero targets, vis-a-vis helping a wealth manager re-enter fixed income, which is an asset class that I'm sure you follow markets eagerly. This year is, has completely reset. They're very different investment problems. So again, I spend a lot of time thinking about, the thesis that we can communicate to our clients and the technology and the tools that can empower us to deliver it. I'm also a mum, so that's the second job.
Well, the first job.
Okay. Same here, that's the job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud of being here. It's been 33 years, pretty much to the day. I used to be at LSE, and I was vice president of the Italian Society. Back then, the Italian Society used to buy the Gazzetta dello Sport and leave it up in the library. That's what I remember I was also part of the Financial Forum. Now we're getting to the subject. And we crossed over, we had Lord Forte here. And Lord Forte's father, not the current Lord Forte. And so I approached him. Didn't understand much what he said about finance and everything, but I did say, listen, I'm vice president of the Italian Society. I want to throw a party. Would you throw in some catering? And he said yes. And so, okay, that's good. So then I went to the Italian Camera di Commercio and found out they had a lot of old bottles of wine, which they chucked in for free as well. So we had an amazing party. And the party was just around the corner from here, because this, or close to, used to be the 3 Tons pub.
Yeah.
Lots of parties in the 3 Tons pub.
This building wasn't even here.
Yeah, it wasn't even here. It was just next door. It was the career office, the 2nd floor above the 3 Tons pub. But I was at the LSE, and I remember one of my first memories was 1987 stock market crash, Black Monday. I remember it because there was a hurricane in London. I was in Parsfield Halls, and so the windows were blowing, and there was a hole in the window, so it was quite cold. And so, yeah, for those of you who've been through Parsfield, it was at least back in the 80s, it wasn't a great place to be. So anyway, I ended up in finance. So what do I do on a day-to-day? Well, I've done a lot of jobs in the financial sector. So jack of all trades. Today, my main job is management. It's managing the team, managing the clients, managing the business. So that means that every morning I wake up and, in some cases I catch a plane to somewhere. We've got 8 offices around the world. It's my responsibility to manage these offices and manage the people in the offices. And when I turn up in wherever, it could be Tokyo, it could be Singapore, it could be London, I get dragged to see clients. Usually there's a problem with the clients, otherwise they don't show me clients. Because, it's either, something's gone wrong, performance is not good enough, or the fees are too high or something. Otherwise, happy to get along with the business themselves. But I didn't start obviously as a manager. I started very, very low. I actually started working for JP Morgan. And then I had a stint at Merril Lynch Investment Managers, which has now been bought out by BlackRock. So, went through the ropes, as it were. And it's interesting because you get a nice holistic view of what goes on. But sometimes, finance gets filled with jargon, so people don't understand. So mothers or even fathers have real problem in understanding what the hell do you actually do. At the end of the day, we have a product and we sell it. And in our case, we sell it like BlackRock does. It's very similar, only they are 1,000 times bigger than us. We sell it through the supermarkets. So it's like, just think of it, financial products is just a shampoo, got different versions of shampoo, toothpaste and creams or whatever. I just put it on the supermarket shelf. The wealth managers, the Credit Suisses, UDSs, Picketeers, Deutsche Banks of this world, around the world, who then are the ones with whom wealthy people bank and need the product to build out their portfolios. And we provide the front to back end. So we're not dissimilar from Procter & Gamble and the Union. It's just the product is a little bit different. And for the jargon and more complex, and we hide behind the jargon. Actually, it's quite simple. I want it on that particular shelf, and I fight to have it on that particular shelf. And I go around all the various offices where they have the various bankers that service your wealth, and speak to them and convince them that they should be buying or including our products in their portfolios as they produce and put portfolios together. That's in a nutshell what I do.
Thank you very much. Very good, very interesting. And maybe to continue a little bit along this line for now, but what would you say? So there are here students who are interested in this career, and what would be your sort of advice in terms of how did you get from yourself being students, and then how did you get interested in finance, and what first step did you take to get into this particular sector, in terms of also advice for the students who are interested in that?
Yep, want to start?
Yep.
Okay.
Whoever.
Well, it was back in the 80s, end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, and the job market was horrendous. So I went and did masters, basically, to try and buy some time to try and see if the job market improved. But joking aside, internships help. Most importantly is understanding why you want to get into finance, and on which side of finance you want to get into. Here you've got two buy-side firms, so-called buy-side firms, which unless you're in sort of financial sector, you don't know what that means. Essentially, we manage money for, we manage savings, we manage people's pensions at the end of the day. And you have JP Morgan that does a lot of things, and that's on the trading side. So it very much depends, are you very analytical, or are you more a people's person? Do you like just hiding behind a spreadsheet and doing research, or do you like going out and meeting people and understanding how the broader looking around and seeing what happens? Are you good at selling, or are you good at buying? There are different skill sets, and as you move on in life, you start to understand what type of person you are. And the worst thing is lying to yourself, first of all, and secondly, is understanding what you want. Which, not many people have the luxury to pick and choose exactly what they want. You sort of kind of fall into something. And then when you're there, you're like a sponge. You absorb as much as possible. You work as hard as possible, and you try and figure out how things work. And hopefully one day you'll be lucky and you'll have a break and you'll be able to choose the direction you move into. And literally, my career, I've been like sort of, people have come up to me and said, I now want you to do this. I was like, okay. So leave everything back and start doing something else. Reinvent yourself. Never be afraid of reinventing yourself. That keeps your opportunities open. One last thing to say is that finance is, and also I was mentioning it is huge. It has everything, it has so many different job types that you can do in finance. Some looks really sexy, some look really boring. It's not true. It depends what type of person you are. You then have to decide whether you want to be in which one. Don't just sort of finance and just big black box. So many different jobs. You just need to be find your where to fit and where to sit, and just be open to change and be open to doing everything and decide then if you like it or not.
Yeah, that resonates with me a lot. So I didn't plan, probably unlike you guys who have very clear views and chose a, uni major in accordance to that. So I have a physics degree. I came from a completely different, zone. It was 1999 where I came to London. I was at Imperial, so the other side of the city, but they locked me into a lab, and I was spending 9 hours of my day sending a little laser beam on a super small piece of semiconductor after fiddling with liquid nitrogen to reduce the temperature of the thing. And I did that for 9 hours a day in the dark by myself. So after 9 months of that cure, I realized that I did love maths and I did like intellectual challenges, but I needed people. So I started to look around and, at that time, I think from Imperial, there was a very clear transfer route into the city. So I started to go around for canapes with the other students. And then eventually realized that actually finance was interesting to me because it did have a quantitative element that I really liked, but it also had a big component linked to behavioral aspects. So the human element. And, I think we all know, I'm sure, loads of examples, investors sometimes act in an irrational manner. And that for me was appealing because, vis-a-vis a system which is fully defined, that there was some form of excitement that got me into it. So then I started to try to find my way. And again, I wasn't quite, at the beginning, I was a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, or whatever the expression is. It wasn't quite geared towards that. So I had to go through quite a bit of soul searching. And to your point, it's been an iterative process. So at the beginning, I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, which transferable skills do I have? And at that time, it was primarily maths. So I then joined consulting and started to do valuations of derivatives and securities because that's basically maths and you could apply it to anything. Then after 5 years of that, I realized that actually banks made way more money than what I was making by writing those derivatives for clients. I was like, well, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this equation. So I moved into banking and I had 7 or 8 years there, including at Credit Suisse on the trading floor. We were chatting around Canary Wharf. And then I think at some point, I just didn't find it that interesting. And also, to be completely honest, I passed 30 and I looked around on the trading floor at Canary Wharf and there were not that many women, but among all of them, 2 were moms. And I knew I wanted to have a family. So I'm like, intellectually, don't get the kick as I used to. And B, I don't think this is built around me anymore. And so I started to think about how would I find another iteration after those initial ones that got me closer to what makes me happy. And asset management in the jungle of finance came to the forefront as an area that allows me to feel useful to clients, feel that I have a purpose, feel that I do ultimately, now it sounds a bit grand because I'm not saving anyone's lives, but we do help clients have a better outcome in the end. It allowed me to continue to learn, which was a big element for me. And then it also allowed me to have the balance around the broader picture of me as a person that I felt was right. So for me, pieces of advice would be, one, follow your dreams. If you feel you're in a seat that is not the right one, just don't rest until you find the one that is right for you. You might come from a different perspective. You might have to change a few things under this huge umbrella that is finance, but just don't give up. Don't settle for something that doesn't excite you, because we'll all have long hours. It's going to be very painful at times. If you don't enjoy it, you're going to break. So that's one. The second one, sorry, I go cheesy, but there's a TED talk that I really like by a American psychologist called Angela Duckworth, and it's called The Power of Grit. And probably many of you have seen it. But again, it's that logic around no doesn't mean no, it means no now. So that for me has been my mantra. If you get a rejection, or if you end up in a place and that is not the place, don't worry. That is not the end. Life is not a digital option. It's not black or white. It's not 0-1. You can change it and keep pushing until you get to that. And yeah, just for me, those two are, I think, the key ones.
Thank you very much.
So, provide my view. I mean, I think the reason why I'm here today is because I was in your seat, probably a slightly different seat. I didn't study in the UK, so I graduated in Pisa. Never seen an English person in my life. I decided, I want to try something different. Went to Pisa for a week, relaxed, took another luggage, came to London. My English was far from perfect, so I started calling recruiters and they're like, okay, you need to speak the language kind of. So I'm here just to point out some of the things that I wish people your age were told and where I wasn't told. So I went to the best Italian school, graduated in Oxford. There was a line of firm waiting for me. Wrong, totally the opposite. Like literally my high school was in Lucca. Nobody knows what that is, especially in the UK. Graduated in Pisa. And I was studying computer science engineering, which is very prestigious in Italy. It took me 6 years, was one of the first in my class to get out. I came to the UK, talked to a recruiter, 6 years graduated. As you know here, degrees are 3 years. And you're like, did you work during this period? Were you traveling? Did you climb some mountains? Were you a rock star? What did you do for 6 years exactly? It's pretty good for Italy. Like, oh, wow. Is this because you guys are really relaxed in Italy? No, it wasn't. And how did I get into finance from Italy? I didn't like it. I just could not be bothered. You could give me like the financial news and like, this is way too boring for me. So I came here with, my objective was I want to be the best software developer in the world. And the reason behind it, I'm the best software developer and I get paid the most amount of money in the world. Boy, was I wrong. The top software developer here do something very specific, and the basic law of economics, demand and supply, way more supply than demand, so you could really be competitive. And I really struggled to find the first job. So I guess my only superpower was stubborn as hell. Like after 7 months of not finding a job, I would just not give up. During the 7 months, you say that you went back to study. I think that's a good idea. Don't just sit there if you get stuck. Like do a training course, go a lecture, do something that augment your CV. I think people kind of embellish their CVs with white lies. My suggestion, don't do that. Put something there of meaning. There's something that you can do in the meanwhile if you get stuck. So after 7 months, I find a job in finance. But that's not the end of the story. I didn't like it. I kept applying for the job I wanted as the most challenging software development in the world. I found it, and after 6 months, I totally despise it. Like if you see like those comedy show with the nerds in the basement, that's pretty close. And I realized that I like certain aspect of it. I needed more people connection, like more balanced people. So I found a friend that was telling me, look, I work in finance. We could use somebody that actually understands how to build software systems, and say, yeah, I can do that. And compensation was part of it. So I'm not gonna lie. And that was one of the things that attracted me. I found the first few jobs in finance, working in banks, and I really enjoyed it. And the first week into the banking job, I'm like, okay, very comfortable in my software development. Oh, this is your system. Oh, it's total rubbish. I can do way much better. And then I would have traders coming to me, talk to me about finance stuff, and I'm like, let me stop that. No idea what you say, like zero. And so for me, there was never like a flick moment. It was more like 10 years of doing this. Then I moved from software development to the business side, and then I started building business, talking more to clients. And I found out that what I left Italy for, what I wanted, is not what I wanted. What I like is applying my skills and furthering my skills in the quant side aspects. One of the questions later is what trends do you see in finance? Is definite one. And I realized that talking to clients and finding what makes people click and how the software development and building automated trading system can do for people, I found that's what gets me out of bed. But to go back to what my colleagues say, finance is a huge, enormous world. If been working in the bank for 15 years, if you can fit a box of things I know about finance, it's a lot. It would be this big. If you can fit a box of things I don't know about finance, it would be as big as this room. And I find that is something that appeals to me. I never stop learning. I never try to stop learning. I always try to do something new. And obviously, if you have that curiosity, your university, you must have it. I think finance is a good place to be. Never stop learning.
Thank you. This whole story made me think of that short book by John Kay, called Ubiquity. It says your career path is most of the time, the most successful career paths are not ones from A to B, but are ubiquitous. You know, they go around in bends and
Definitely.
So it's yeah, so probably
Yeah, sure. First of all, allow me to borrow a couple of minutes just to echo the thanks from Umberto for to our panelists. To our esteemed panelists. We are very proud to have you here, and we thank you very much. I'm here right now because as most of the guys in the audience, I mean all of the guys in the audience, I'm passionate about finance as well, and I'm trying to break into finance, which is the theme of this panel. And I believe my first question is going to be, I came here in the UK 2 years ago, leaving Italy during COVID, and I've seen many rejections, to the extent that I have an Excel file of how many rejections I have received, and probably the number is above 3 digits.
I have a folder.
Oh, okay, perfect. So you do.
I still have it. Didn't feel an Excel file.
And every time it was difficult to fill in the next application form because of the fact that you know that one way or the other you're gonna end up in a rejection. But eventually I was lucky enough to get an offer. The question is, how did you develop the resilience that I believe it's necessarily to break into finance? Not only to break into finance, but then also to develop a successful career in finance.
I guess I can start with that. I think like I went through different phases in my career, different degrees of difficulty. Like finding the first job for me was the highest difficulty ever. So how do you develop it? I just had it. I'm stubborn as hell. I wouldn't just go back until I find a job. Look, the advice I have, I didn't study in a top university. I did not like finance. I got rejected 1 billion times. I did not speak English. I did not have the correct subjects in my degree. And I didn't have any connections. Nobody will help me. And I spoke to plenty of recruiters who would tell me, you just don't have what it takes. You just don't. Like change the job. I was so desperate, went to a job center, found a job in a pub, to do something, get some money, learn some English. And then after 3 months, we went back to the job center and say, look, you just don't have it. Like nobody's gonna hire you to mess up the trading systems. Just find a job at Starbucks that pays the bill and be done with it. So find it within yourself, just believe in yourself. It's as simple as that. Just do not take no for an answer. If you start not finding a job, just do something about it. Do the training course, read about finance, try to connect with people, take them out, try to figure out what it is that they do. If you find a good recruiter, he won't just hang up the phone on you, will tell you why you got rejected. And I think you need to be willing to take the feedback. Otherwise, they don't owe you the feedback. They're just not going to give it to you if you're defensive. And try to work with it. If it is, you know, your English is not perfect, you know, go out and try to learn some English. If it is your math skills are not too great for the job we need, try and get it. It's no slam dunk, like every little help can get you to get the first job and do it. My first job, like literally, I studied for 6 years computer science engineering. I built like plenty of software systems in my home. I would sell at Piaggio in Italy during my summer. And while I was stuck, there was a new programming language came out, and why not? I'm just going to get the certification. That got me the first job. And then, as my colleagues say, once you're in it, it's a lot easier to move laterally. So try to get the foot into the door, even if it's not your dream job. Try to get the foot into the door, then you can move around. Like I had somebody call me the other day, person who is a bit older, and say, I'm property law for 20 years, I'm bored as it is. I want a job in trading. What do you suggest I do? Kind of start from the bottom, and nobody's going to hire as a trader. It is also find the common denominator between what you do, augment it with some training if you want. Maybe you find an accountant position within a bank, then you get closer to the finances side of things. You get closer to how the bank manages the ledger. Then you start understanding the trades in the ledger, and it's going to take you 10 years. There's no shortcuts.
Sure.
Yeah.
I agree with many themes. So I think one is clearly be prepared to sweat it. It's not going to be easy. But again, it's the power of perseverance. Two, I wholeheartedly agree with the concept of get in, and then from there, it's much easier. I think we all went through 2007, 2008. So loads of stories around, you know, people in Canary Wharf going down to have coffees because they had just lost their jobs. So again, through those experiences, it's very clear, like it's important to get back. It's like a bit like dating, get back out there and then you'll fix it. So that's the second message for sure. The third one, I agree, is like continue to invest in yourself. You're the biggest asset. You'll be told this forever, but it's so true. And then I think there's something around the rejection that I also agree. So, you know, people, when they go through traumas, they go through different phases. You will have seen, you know, say, you lose your job, or you split with your boyfriend or girlfriend. There's like the anger, the depression, and then you start to rebound. There's like some very clear phases of human reactions. And I think there's an analogy there in terms of when you get told no, you know, talk to your friends, have a Häagen-Dazs watching Netflix, do what you need to do because you're angry, fine. But then at some point you put that into a box and look at it in its face. There might be something powerful into it. It might be related to how you come across, how you articulate your skills, how you position yourself. So, you know, it's going to be painful. So squeeze out anything good that might come through it. Don't throw it away. There might be good messages in there. So for me, yeah, it's get out there, keep pushing. No means no now, not now, forever. Persevere, but also don't be scared to look at it, because if it keeps happening, it might mean something. And the sooner you realize how to connect those dots and what that message that is coming to you is, the sooner you can solve it, and then it's going to go away.
I think willpower beats talent every day. What I mean by that is actually people who have talent are unlucky to a certain degree because they get lazy, they get complacent, and then talent doesn't work. So people who are less talented will work much, much harder to actually strive. It's true for all sports people. And life, careers, it's the same. You've got to work hard at it. And I echo what my colleagues have just said. You know, keep at it. There's also an understanding of, again, finance is a very, very large, different types of jobs. Most people identify with finance, the Wall Streets, the, you know, Wolf of Wall Street, or the, back in the days it was Wall Street, Michael Douglas, doing investment banking deals. Then we had Salomon Brothers, braces, Salomon Brothers, traders, you know, taking on the big banks, etc. One word of caution: that's all very sexy and exciting. It is very, very high performance, and it's akin to a footballer's career. Very few people make it, and they make it for a very limited amount of time. I had so many friends who were at the LSE with me, who were just, you know, colleagues who were either in trading. There's a guy who got a first in maths and economics here at the LSE was with me. He worked for Salomon Brothers, which then became Citi. He was on the trading floor back in the days when Alan Howard was on the trading floor. It was, you know, cowboys. Made an enormous amount of money. 32, he's been unemployed since he's 32. Okay, lots of investment banking friends who at the age they hit 40, 45, unemployed, or they go back into other jobs, etc. So look at the types of jobs in finance. Not all are the same, and not all have the same tenure. And some may look less sexy, but actually allow you for a longevity in career. And actually are the ones that build financial services. You know, you've seen some here. Watch out when you look at finance. There's some stereotypes to move out of the way. But fundamentally, you want a career, not just a career in finance. If you want a career in anything, it is, at first you don't succeed, try again. That was my grandma. She used to say that. And I think it holds true for anything, and it echoes what people's experience. There's one thing that you can do. You can continue studying. CFA is a very good entry. If you've done a CFA or in the process of doing your CFA, you get to learn a lot anyway. First CFA is really, really interesting. Second and third, bit of a bit drier, but at least the first one, you really get to understand what finance is all about, and you can have a conversation with people who you are interviewing with. Make it your job to understand what finance is about, because it's not about Wolf of Wall Street, or it's about big races, and it's about traders on the trading floor shouting and all the rest of it. It's not. It really is. That is a microcosm. Finance is huge. Finance goes from sell side to buy side to becoming analysts. It's very different thing. You work in finance, working a pension fund, choosing investments and being a client for all sides, that is for us. So there's lots of things.
There are also quite a few jobs in finance in the public sector, which I think are very interesting. For example, in a central bank or in the treasury, international organization, but there are also jobs not only in the finance industry as represented here, but in broader finance area.
Sure.
Very good. Very good.
I just wanted to add. I just wanted to add that you mentioned a couple of you have mentioned, actually all of you have mentioned the encountering of some of the greatest occurrences of the worst occurrences of the financial markets in recent years, the market crash, the Black Monday or the 2008 financial crisis, I'm not sure if stats are going to be on my side in comparing those kind of situation with the current situation at the moment. But at the moment, I believe that the market job is on this, it's tough as well. Let's call it this way. We've heard about, I'm sure people that are looking for a career in finance. I've heard about some layoffs. I believe that resilience and your suggestion in this kind of environment are more helpful, and they're extremely powerful in this echo chamber of.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask at this point, how good, especially in situations like this, is not networking in your application process? Do you believe networking is pretty useless? Do you believe actually people can build career on networking?
I think there's somewhere in between. So I get people contacting me on LinkedIn, such as yourself, 3 times a day until I accept. I'm joking. And I got other people. I found out this internship or this job at JP Morgan. Can you put a good word for me? No. Absolutely not. I don't know you. I think it's unfair. I hate the nepotism kind of you rub my back. JP Morgan / career, good luck. It's as simple as that. That's bad networking. What is good networking is finding somebody people's time and say, honestly, look, I'm trying to get in finance. I've been failing for a long time. Can you help me? And then it goes back to my colleagues say get feedback. So last year I mentor a person that was trying to find a job. He was in university, and he just touched me. I don't know why. He just touched me. Just look at his sweet boy, and he had all these blogs on how he get ghosted by large financial institution. I send my CV, I get ghosted, and I'm like, look, I'm really sorry. The first few meetings we had were like literally just empathy. Like the guy was not in a great shape. He was during lockdown. He wouldn't get out of his room. He was studying. I could tell you, he was in his basement room putting a tie for me. And like, come on, I felt really bad for the guy. I wanted to help him. And then we started talking about jobs. I get ghosted. These people don't call me back. And then I read these blogs on how these financial institutions are bad. And like, look, we can stop here. It was lovely meeting you, or we can move to the next phase of my mentoring. And that is the tough love part. And it's like, look, I want a job. So whatever that means, give it to me. Like, full disclaimer, you're not going to feel good about this discussion. Send me your CV. He sends me the CV. Nobody here is expected to be perfect English. I'm sure I have a spectacular accent. Our CEO of the CIB has got a stronger accent than me. He made it. It's fine. The accent's fine. Plenty of grammatical mistakes on the CV. Like, that's unacceptable. I say, it costs £20 to give your CV to somebody to do grammar review and put sentences there. So don't blame the company for ghosting you if you send something for grammatical mistakes. But that, like, let's do me a favor, just as a test, I'm gonna send this CV to 3 people I trust. We're gonna come up with a new CV for you. We're gonna remove your hobbies and interests are Harry Potter. I don't think it's very appealing to a company. I love Harry Potter. I like it. Like, I wouldn't put on my CV. New CV, I like, look, I'm all about quant, statistics and stuff. I want you to do, you apply for 50 jobs. We meet in 2 weeks. I want you to tell me which job you apply to. And I want to send 25 old CVs, 25 new CVs. Then we can discuss the feedback you will give me on how you don't believe this is important. So 0% hit rate, like 3 interviews, and like 70% of people responded. I'm sorry about your application. So is networking important? To go back to your question, hello, can you find me a job? I'm Italian, we come from the same city. It's just not gonna happen. Like, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's ethical. I don't recommend my cousin for a job. I send it to JPMorgan/career. Can you find somebody that guides you through the process? Yes, I think a colleague here talked about like the rejection and how to take it. I think you need somebody to help you with the hug me part, because it's tough. It really is.
Yes.
But you're a product. As tough as it is, you're a product. Make your product better. Go sell yourself. Understand what makes your product better. Like, if you send 100 CVs, get it out of your head that there's something wrong with you. You're at the LSE, you're right in London, you speak English. Yeah, the LSE is about something to do with finance. I come from Pisa, didn't speak English. I got a job. So, way better position I am. So try to figure out how you can improve your product. Try again and try again. Eventually, you make it better. So that's networking that helps. Get into somebody's time, somebody that can help you, or career counselor, or find somebody who you have something in common with, who's willing to go for a coffee and gives you an advice.
Just a quick add-on. I apologize for the spamming of messages. But no, I totally stress again all of your.
And by the way, this is now when you get into a company, like creating networking. I think in the first years is essential, because we all keep saying the same thing. Finance is a universe. You need 2 years to figure out what your company has to offer to you, which might be more appealing than your first job. Get your first job, get in, and then figure out what you want to do.
Thank you. What do you think is good networking?
So so I'll acknowledge that I'm a late bloomer in networking, because I'm an introvert, so I don't like going to parties and open small talks with people. I don't know. So for a long time, I didn't do it very well. It created a lot of anxiety for me. Finally, I managed to get through that barrier. And I have to say, we said earlier, what would you say to yourself going back to final years at uni? I would definitely tell myself to try harder a little bit earlier to go on to networking. It's extremely powerful in many ways. One is the practical element of actually a lot of my career changes have happened through people I knew or that knew me, as opposed to I go to a website and I apply. So it has some practical implications. But most importantly, I found it extremely useful in terms of my personal development. That longevity element that you refer to, which I profoundly believe is the key to a successful career, comes through networking. You hear different stories from other people. Those people will see you through their eyes and their experiences, which is your point, and will give you valuable advice. So for me, it is about the mechanical element of getting a job, but it's also about that continuous development that goes on top of your degree, your master, your CFA. It's about developing yourself as a professional, as a person. So do not underestimate the power of it. I guess one element is it has to be authentic. So give yourself the license to try to network with people, and that actually, obviously be polite, but it's totally fine if the chemistry is not there, and it's totally fine if you're not going to become best friends. It's going to take time to find those 3-4 mentors that can really have a positive interaction with you. And look, let's be honest, in that conversation, there needs to be, in that relationship, there will need to be a quid pro quo, right? You can't just expect them to be there for you. And, I think that the secret is to find someone who is interested in you as much as you're interested in them. And then again, allow yourself to be about quality versus quantity. It's not about having an Excel file with 150 contacts that you have in your network. It's about having 4 who are good, know you, can give you nudges in the areas of development that you need. those are the ones that you should really try to pursue.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you guys are lucky. I mean, you've got all the social media and you know how to use it. I mean, we didn't have mobile phone. Well, I didn't have mobile phone. It didn't exist. Shows how old I am. But I completely underline what also was saying. It has to be quality. You can't count your networking just because on your LinkedIn you have 1,000 people you don't know that have just agreed to get to know you. It's actually very annoying when you can you please, I'm a student tag, can you please? It's like, look, who the hell are you? I don't know you. You know, you might be a terrorist. I don't know. I mean, you know, just joking, but like, why? I'm old school. You know? I know you guys do. Be friend, just sending LinkedIn. But it is key when you start getting a job, because then you've got something to share. You've got something that you're talking about with your colleagues. You're learning. You want to learn more about somebody else's without being annoying. It has to be genuine. All the right things that you would do if you are trying to date somebody. You know, you're not. It has to be real. One other thing that Fabio was saying is that, well, you know, we're in the middle. Companies are laying people off in a bit of a crisis. Hence, our network. One of the things that you need to be also brought to mind is there is, and this is what is happening today, a repricing going on in the financial sector industry. After many years, interest rates have started going up, and they've gone up really quickly, and that's a huge repricing across a number of sectors within finance, within the financial sector, which were yesterday's business and are not going to be tomorrow's business. So that, again, watch out. When I was at LSE, the big thing was management buyouts, leverage buyouts. It was all about, you know, let's just bump up debts and buy out companies. Like then, it died off. Today, you're in a similar situation. Everything's got leveraging because it costs more, interest rates are higher. It's not going to fly. This is why banks are laying off people. They're laying off people in those areas that are not going to fly because all of a sudden the repricing is going on. You know, that doesn't make them viable. So it's not about, you know, finding a solution in network, it's finding the right job in finance to go after, which fits with your personality and also fits with the cycle, because it is a cyclical business, very cyclical business.
Yeah, but to add to the point, I mean, the laying off end up in the new paper. The bank X is hiring 50 people, or hardly does. We're still hiring. There are still jobs.
So when I talk about public sector, actually, quite sure why, but I forgot to mention academia. I mean, there is a Department of Finance, it's the finance area, which is extremely interesting and challenging, which is in the public sector. So, Fabio, if you agree, I'm now open.
And to remind, it went out of fashion, but it's coming back into fashion. There was somebody called Phillips, who actually was at the MSc and came up with a Phillips card, right?
Many economists.
So,
the LSE, quite a few Nobel Prize winners in the LSE. But so I will open the.
Sure.
So there is a mic over there.
There are actually two mics, huh?
Yeah. Two mics. So if you could say your name and your university affiliation when you start, and then also I ask you to keep your question brief but to the point, so more people can ask what they want.
Hello, my name is Gabriel. I'm coming from Livorno, Tuscany. I done Pisa University, and then I done my master's degree in engineering management at Brunel in London. And my question is, originally I'm Nigerian, and my question is, how you balance private life and work?
Yeah, nice meeting you. Thank you for the question. First of all, my manager is Nigerian, and my manager is Nigerian, and the best manager I've ever had. I hope he's watching this.
that's an example of network.
I would say targeted network.
Targeted networking. So again, finance, huge world. How's the work-life balance? I personally think like I'm not working that hard, but maybe I'm a bit more old school. It's not a 9-to-5 job. I think you struggle to find a 9-to-5 job in finance, but my wife is a lawyer. She tried to pursue a career in law, and she ended up in an American firm and doing the whole, you know, I'm a paralegal, I want to make all the way to partner. And that was hard work. Like 7 a.m. in the office, come back at 1 a.m. in the morning. Once she left on a Wednesday, she came back on Monday. I'm like, you're getting out there. I just don't see that happening. I don't think it's good for your health in general. For full disclosure, I get into the office around 8 and I leave at 6. So those are my working hours. I say, again, not 9 to 5. For anybody who comes from Italy, I think that's outrageous. No lunch breaks while you eat at your desk. That's crazy. I don't have a problem with that. I still go to the gym, still enjoy my kids, I still have to do my life. I think there's an element of look, hard work pays off. I agree, there's nothing you can't replace that. There's hard work and then there's overworking for the sake of it. I would say, at least where I work, the culture or you need to be on the desk 14 hours a day to prove that your hard work is gone. And I think that's very silly. I don't see anybody working 14 hours a day actually being good at the job. I think there's been many studies, the correlation between working hours and how productive you are. We know Uber drivers, we know waiters, so we can't serve enough tables or drive more people. If you're good at your job, at least in my area, and I think we have good culture, that's what you get. Nobody really cares what you do. So 9 to 5 is probably, with a 2 hours lunch break, is probably not a realistic expectation, but personally, I find I'm 45, another 10 years in my career, no problem. I can sustain there. I still have a good life, spend time with my kids, spend time with my friends, and get to do my hobbies. But it's down to where you end up, and to your manager, to your unit. And my advice is, you know, work hard, but if you believe it's a bit toxic, look somewhere else.
So one message for me is be prepared to juggle. I don't think anyone is going to have, you know, an answer to your question. It's going to change for you throughout your career. You're going to go through phases where you're fine to do weekends and do 3 a.m. in the morning, and you're going to go through phases where that doesn't work. So be prepared to juggle and adapt, which I think was a point that came earlier. B, we haven't quite touched it explicitly, but I'm a big fan of women in finance. And, you know, I had 2 kids throughout. So I think in that sense, there's a whole big chapter. I'm going to be brief. I'm not going to open it, but, you know, the Sheryl Sandberg around, I'm CEO of Facebook and I leave at 5 and it's fine. I actually don't think that's a particularly healthy model. I think that element of struggle, having to adapt, having to juggle a little bit. Someone said to me once, you know, women can have it all, and it applies to everyone. I think maybe just not all at the same time. That for me is a mantra that sometimes I tell myself. So, you know, be gentle with yourself. If you have a 3-month-old kid at home, that you might be the dad, you might be the mom, hey, you're not going to get a lot of sleep. So try to understand that, to your previous point, careers are not linear, and you can go through different phases and you can shift gear up and down, and that's totally fine because this is a marathon as opposed to a sprint. Mm-hmm. And then 3, and this is just a very little subset of the old story in terms of balancing, but you know, for kids in particular, again, be prepared to put a structure around you to allow you to perform. So think about the logistics, think about the pedestrian elements of childcare, but those might be boring, but they'll empower you to continue to invest in yourself and follow your dreams. So those will be my 3 points.
Yeah, I was doing a review to one of our juniors. It's not that junior, he's been in the job now for 3.5, 4 years, high performer. We sat down and talked about careers and what do you want to do, and he was like, he's on sales. And he said, you know, Alex, I can't see myself continuing to do this life, traveling all week and then coming back. You know, I want to train, I want to see my girlfriend, you know, if I'm going to have kids, I want to come home, etc. Then I was thinking, I've just taken 110 planes last year. And I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, jump a plane, go to the other side of the world, and, you know. There's an element of that. I'm not going to say it's going to be all your career is going to be that, but you need to balance that with other things. I think the worst that's happened is mobile phones are being connected all the time, because I rarely have a holiday without checking my phone every 20 minutes anyway, and my emails, and that is bad news. But what has happened and what has changed is, for instance, women in finance. I mean, one of my colleagues, a woman, who said to me, you know, Alex, one of the things that's a real retainer for incentivizes for retaining people and talent in the company is our maternity policy. And I'm like, okay, quite proud. I wrote it with the help of other people, but that was also something that we were very proud of. And we've got 45% women in the office, and so that means, you know, we will have a lot of new mums going off and staying with us, because we lose talent. It takes anywhere between 9 to 12 months to replace that talent. 3 months to find them, they've got 3 months notice, 3 or 4, 5 months to train them, and then, you know, if all goes well, so the cost of the business is not. So you want to retain people, so we're very, very careful with that work-life balance. But there are some jobs that, unfortunately, or some, as also said, at some points in time, you just have to bite the bullet and just have to do it. I'm sorry, that sounds tough, but, you know, I can't, you know, silver line it. It will need, you need to put in the time. You need to do that sort of grind, that groundwork. Otherwise, you won't have a career.
Okay, so let's take a couple of questions together, and then maybe if just one of you answers, so we can get more questions. So who wants to ask the next question? One over there, one over here.
My name is Luca. I am currently on a gap year and studying economics as of this year. And a lot of you spoke about getting your foot in the door, and then it's easier to move sideways and experience a lot of different parts of finance. But I'm wondering if there's any specific skills that helped you, like coding or more mathematical skills, or anything which makes this transition easier, and kind of want to focus on to you know, maybe prevent some failures. And so instead of having to look back at yourself and improve yourself, you're already there. So if you have any like particular focuses or skill sets that can help you do that.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I'm Giorgio from Italy as well. I studied at UCL, so I'm a UCL graduate, and now I'm working in data analysis. I wanted to ask something maybe a bit more personal. That is, of course, like we're also talking to someone who has been successful and who worked a lot during their life. But of course, definitely you also went through some rough patches. And I wanted to know, like, on those instances, how did you react? And like, do you have any suggestions on any kind of tips from your kind of experience that you can give us, or you can kind of share about how to kind of react to those rough patches, and yeah, go on and understand what you really want to do in your career?
Skills needed to negotiate sideways. Yeah.
I mean, you're always learning a new skill. You need to keep on learning. And I think one of the important things about once you're in is understanding what the requirements are in the various departments. I mean, we're talking about coding. One guy in investment banking said to me, you know, Alex, now we're looking for coding skills. We're looking for economics with coding skills, because there's all the new sort of tech that's coming your way. You know, you've got the analytic tools that are coming your way. you won't be using Excel spreadsheet. You'll be coding some of that Excel into code, which goes into other stuff. So that's a skill for analytics, etc. But it depends what job. That's a very, very specific job that you might do for a certain period of time, and then grow into that job and decide you like something else and move laterally. I think you have to be humble. You have to work hard. You have to understand your surroundings, be curious. You're in a highly competitive environment. But with it comes a lot of interesting stuff, which is probably why people are interested in finance. There are a lot of moving parts. You feel like you're on the edge of innovation on any side of finance. You just have to find, it's like a painting, it's like a picture. It might not fit in one room, but it fits in another room, or it fits in another house. You just have to find where you're best suited. And that painting, however, it's got an added dimension, which is you're improving all the time, you're learning, you are changing. And so that's going to be part of you and part of the direction where you want to go.
I agree with that. I would also say try to play to your strengths. So trivializing massively, you can go into finance with loads of maths and loads of coding. And if that's who you are, because you know that you've done it, you have a passion for it, double down on that and continue to invest. It's clearly what you mentioned. It's a set of assets that will have longevity and will be with us forever. But I think there's a second asset. So, when you move to Alex's role and it becomes a managerial role, it's also a lot about people. Or if you are in a sales job and you have to sit in front of clients, it's a lot about connecting with them and trying to understand what is their issue. So again, of course, you need to have a technical base, but there are definitely roles, to your point, that should your skills be more into that human relationship component, you can play to that. So I would say maybe try to have a bit of a self-audit of where is your towering strength, and then leaning into that.
And just to add, sorry, sorry, I don't want to. There's another important aspect. It's not because you're in a job that you don't like and you want to move sideways. It's like you go to your manager and say, I really don't like it. I want to go and do this. I'll be much better at that. No, you need to excel in what you do. Then you will be picked to do a lateral move. Not whinge about the current job, but I'll be brilliant if I went next door. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to.
Sorry, I promise. This is the last one. Then I'm going to shut forever. But under that story of, passionate about women, but it applies to everybody. I sponsor a program at BlackRock in EMEA called The Art of the Ask, which does exactly this. So the way, once you understand what you want, the way you ask for it and how you prepare for that conversation in terms of not only how you articulate it, but also the journey and the skills that you accumulate to be a viable candidate is an art. You need to take it as a job in a certain way. So, if you Google something along those lines, you'll see, and there's like loads of stuff that we do at BlackRock, but I think it's out there. So maybe have a look at that as well, because I think it relates a lot to the point that you made, and there's definitely a strategy around it. Definitely not really that.
So what about Giorgio's question about the rough patches? Once you're into finance, I assume it's once you're in the sector and you come to during your career difficult periods, what would you say?
Being promoted to MD is pretty difficult. Failed 5 times, so that's a lot. I feel like all the people I mentored, they fit in 3 categories, and only one is successful. The first one is you're given the feedback, they don't like it, they don't agree with it. I'm perfect. You guys need to understand I'm perfect. That's why I deserve the promotion. That's why I deserve to pay more. That's why I deserve the new job, bigger title. Not gonna work out. And the second category, They want the feedback, they take it, but they don't particularly agree, and then they don't do anything with it. Again, not very successful. Third one is take the feedback, you really go back to your desk and figure out what it means at a very, very deep level. And it may be that everything you think is wrong. Maybe that you think your objective is getting into the bank and making more money and annoying everybody around you. That may not be the objective. That's something worth to consider. If I've done well in my career, I cherish the feedback. I write it down. I have another folder for that. And I go and check the feedback from years ago. Am I doing those things still, or have I just brushed that off? I think that's spectacularly powerful. When I joined banking, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a lot of money and get everything I want. Not quite. It was a lot about, like I say, my manager's a good manager. He's actually very good at this stuff, and he helped me through some of this thing. And it took a lot of hard work and reinventing myself. I think everybody here saying it to reinvent yourself. That's definitely true. The chances that you get out of university, you get plunked into a big financial institution and you're perfect out of the box is close to zero. So how do you get better year after year? You get the feedback, you cherish it. It's not a punishment. It's not a review that says, these are the areas that you're bad at and why you suck. These are the areas you can do better at. And you should really consider changing those. I tell like my guys always tell me, Mattia, how do I get paid more? Don't come back with the same feedback. And the year after, you do not have the same feedback. Simple as that.
One of the big advantages of the job in the private financial industry is the disproportionate financial rewards. So that allows you probably much more flexibility in terms of moving around, losing a job, finding another one, and so on, than in probably any other sector. So we have time, I think, for one last question. Anybody else wants to ask something? Yes.
Yeah, hello. Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Into the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chandan Kumar, and I am going deep in finance every day. I have a question. What is more important, removing bad network or making a good network? And my second question is, what are you doing to remove blind spot from business or finance? Like we don't know some things that happening in business world or finance. All of us, we don't know some things. So like, what are you doing to remove that blind spot of knowledge? Thank you.
Remove, I didn't quite hear what
A blind spot, like a blind spot, like
Blind.
don't.
Yeah. Thank you.
So if I understand your question, it's like, how do we pass on the knowledge of everything to you guys in finance? Is that right?
Like we all don't know some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we don't know some aesthetic in this world is like someone doing well, and we have blind spot.
I agree with you. And I think that Socrates a few millennia ago said exactly that, right? So you need to acknowledge the fact that you know that you don't know. So it's a paradox what you're referring to. So there are areas that I know nothing about, but because I don't know anything about, I'm not aware of them. So to your point is, how do I break this cycle? So again, not pretending to have an answer for something that someone 2000 years ago, way cleverer than me, didn't quite solve in full. But I think, you know, keep hungry, keep searching, keep being curious, keep asking questions. That's the only way, because I agree with you. It's you don't necessarily have a switch to switch on the light. But again, I think we touched upon it in multiple manners. Think about the good quality network, talking to those people dive deeper, keep digging, and there'll be things that pop up to you and you're like, oh, I've never heard about that. Let me ask more. So I think it's really up to you to acknowledge the fact that there'll be areas that you know nothing about, and having the self-discipline to push yourself to search for them. You won't know where they are because you don't know them, but if you search for them with persistence, you find them.
Thank you very much. Very good advice, which actually fits into the academic world where we are now. So education, being interested, curious, education going on for the entire life, which I'm very much in favor. But the last thing is to thank you. So everybody here, the audience here and online, but especially our panelists for giving us your time and for the very interesting conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you in the next panel, 30 minutes from now, with Professor Fornero and Alessandra Perrazzelli. Thank you very much.
Happy?
What about you? Sorry, apologies. It's in the Hong Kong Theater. The next one is in the Hong Kong Theater, Clement House. Thank you.
Noi penso, ovviamente immagino che quello adesso lei torna a casa e poi aspetti qua.
Sì, quello del caso ci vuole